Hi, Marilyn here with Cotton and Chocolate, and I'm back talking about the applique for our Saturday sampler. So some of you that are going to be doing it on your own and you want to do raw edge applique, this is a quick review on how you do it. There's also information at the front of your book on how you do applique and applique preparation. But this is how you would do raw edge applique. And then also some of you bought the laser kit, so this is already prepared for you, and then you just have to lay it down. So first, if you're going to just lay it down, I'll just skip ahead for a second. You would take your block, you would put it over the top of this, okay? And then you would just take your fusible, take the paper backing off of what's been provided to you, lay it down on top of here, on top of your ironing board, whatever you're using. I have a wool mat. You would first put your bias strip down. So I have this here. Okay, so you would lay it off the edge here. I take my Roxanne glue based. I would cut this to size, okay? So I have this and I cut it to size. I take a few drops of this, put it on here, lay it down first because this is going under your flower, all right? And then I get this in line, or you can just take pins, but you have to have some way of getting it in place. And then you take your backing off of your flowers, lay it down, take your hot iron, make sure this is in place, and then iron this down, okay? And then once you have that down, you're ready to sew it, but you do have to sew this down, okay? And I'll be talking about sewing in just a couple of minutes and doing a demonstration on my machine. So you can fast forward this tape down to the sewing, okay? Now, if you're going to be doing applique from the start, you need to take a fusible web, and we have heat and bond light or steam machine light or something else. On one side is paperback, and one side you can feel the fusible. On the paperback side, you're going to be putting this over. There's no right or wrong side that you do this, but you need to be drawing the two leaves here. You don't need to do the stem because I've just showed you have to make the stem, and then you can outline the flower and the center. And then you're going to rough cut like out the leaves to be putting on the fabric. And then you also have to take, I'm just going to show you how I would do the flower. And I only do it this way just to save yourself some of the applique material or the fusible material. So I'm going to cut this out, but you have to cut these out separately. So I'm going to take and do a little edge here. And I'm going to cut this out. So I'm rough cutting this out, okay?
With a quarter-inch seam?
Well, it's not quite a quarter-inch seam. It's just what I can get it. So I have, this is going to go on my flower fabric. And then I also cut out the middle of the circle. Now, why do I do this? Because I don't like to have all of this fusible material and all of my fabric, and this keeps it from being so stiff. All right, so now I'm going to take and cut that out. I want a little bit of a hole in the center of this. So once I have that, I'm going to lay this down on my fabric and then carefully press this down. I don't want to get any of that fusible on my iron. So see, then you can see your outline. I'm not going to cut all this out, but then I would take my scissors and I would do a fine cut on my edge, okay? And do a nice smooth cut. And your flower, resulting flower, is only going to look as nice as your scissor cut. So try to make a nice smooth cut, okay? But you get the idea, okay? And that's your edge. And once you have that all cut out, you're going to peel off that fusible or that paper, and that's your fused edge. And that's what's going to go, let's just say I had that all the way cut, that's what's going to go on that nice white paper as your flower, okay? And then I would have my center, and let's just say that I put that on another piece here. These aren't really your real colors that you're using, but I just have some scraps sitting here. And this would be my center, and I'd press my center on here. Real carefully. It doesn't take much to press it, just a couple seconds. And it's nice and fused. And then I would cut this out on the good edge all the way around, but you get the idea, okay? And this would be the center of my flower. And then I would peel off that paper, and that would be the center of my flower, okay? And then I have a couple of leaves, and I do want to cut out my leaves because I want to show you how the sewing would go for the leaves. So here's my leaves. Now you've noticed I've even cut out the middle of my leaves, but the result is that it's not heavy with fusible, so it's soft. So when I have my quilt, it doesn't feel real stiff. Okay, and then there's my leaves, and I'm going to cut those out, and then I'll sit over at the machine and show you how I sew it down. Okay, so now that you have your applique pressed onto your square, and as I was saying, you're going to put this square right over the top, put your bias strip on first, and then press your pieces on to the square, okay? Once you get that pressed down, then you're ready to sew it down. Now you have a couple options. You can zigzag it down depending upon your machine. You can straight stitch it. You have to sew it down in some way because the fusible is only temporary. And I was saying earlier, I do put some spray starch on my fabric so that I stiffen that fabric a little bit so that it doesn't draw up and pull too much on the fabric when I'm appliquing, and it just helps, okay? So I do that before I get everything. Now, if you forget to do it before you press everything, that's okay. Turn it to the back and spray it before you start sewing, okay? So do that before you get started. I like to do a very small blanket stitch. It really seals the edges. It looks really beautiful and it looks really professional. So you can see on mine, it's very, very small. I've done kind of a teal color on all of mine, so I didn't change color all the way through. And you can always come and look at it in person if you can't really tell here, but it's the same. Okay. So when you get to here, there's a lot of curves that you're going in and out, so you have to go a little bit slower because it just takes a little while to be moving your, foot in and out. But that's okay, you just take your time and it will turn out great. So that's the key to doing your buttonhole stitch with the machine. I really enjoy doing it. It seals up your edges very nicely, so you aren't afraid to wash your quilt. It won't fray. It will look great. It looks beautiful. It's a very professional, nice finish to your raw edge applique. And once you get the hang of it, it goes pretty nicely. So enjoy it, and this is a good practice, this really small piece, and then you'll be ready to work on your outside edge. So if you have any questions, let me know, but we'll enjoy your month, and we'll see you soon.